Good evening and welcome. I'm Vilya Johnson, Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Sarasota County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government by all citizens. The League does not support or oppose political candidates or parties. Tonight we're hosting a presentation by Braver Angels, a nationwide bipartisan civic organization whose mission is to bridge the political divide, find common ground, and restore trust and hope in our democracy. Our informational presentations are held as a service to the community. The views expressed are those of the presenter, not the League. This presentation will be recorded and posted on our website. The recording is the property of the League, and written permission must be sought for the use of the video, which may not be edited or altered. Our speaker tonight is Barbara Hancin. Barbara is retired from a career in higher education, teaching, research, and supporting undergraduate students' education and development. Her areas of specialization were linguistics, second language learning and teaching, global studies, and international education. She now dedicates her time to youth and community well-being projects, including Braver Angels, in which she serves as co-lead for the Ambassador Program. We are going to ask that you have a pen and paper ready in case you want to take some notes, and there will be a handout forwarded to you via email with some of the content from the presentation. Later in the presentation, as we move along, you might want to put any questions in the chat and we will address those at the end of the presentation. So now we will welcome Barbara.
Thank you very much, Billy. I appreciate that kind introduction, and thank you, Elena, for allowing me to talk with the League of Women Voters of Sarasota County. Thank you for that. I'm going to try to get my screen up. I have a little presentation to go along with my words today. So, all right. Are you seeing that okay, the presentation? Yes? Okay, thank you. So yes, I am Barbara Hancin. I am actually in Fairplay, Colorado. Normally for these kinds of presentations, we would ask someone closer to you, a local alliance or an ambassador, to give the presentation. But at the time that this was requested, we weren't able to connect with a local person. So you have me, and I'm happy to be here. I would, before we get started, the pen and paper that Vilya referred to, actually, I would appreciate if you could get that, because we will be doing a mini activity that is, it's taken from one of our workshops, and it's a chance for us to just kind of engage with one of the activities that we use in Braver Angels to try to raise awareness about our own political polarization. And then secondly, it was a handout that was forwarded to you probably just minutes ago, because I didn't get it out early enough. I will be referring to that handout as well. You don't need it necessarily for this presentation, but just be on the lookout for it. I'll refer to it, and then it should be in your emails. Okay, are we ready? I want to also put on make sure I have my clock ready to go so that I'll speak for about 35-40 minutes-ish, and then we'll leave time for questions. Does that sound okay? Right. Okay. So let's begin. So we're living in extraordinary times. Political polarization or division, kind of having the disagreements between the conservative leaning and the red leaning, that's been on the rise for decades. It's been the last 3 decades where it's really taken a steeper, the increase in polarization has been getting steeper, and the decline has been getting steeper. In addition to that, about 4 years ago, we had a COVID pandemic, worldwide health pandemic crisis that forced many of us to socially isolate There was tremendous disruption to our social life, tremendous disruption to our economic life. You all have been dealing with disruption given recent hurricanes. So you're probably also feeling a lot of uncertainty and disruption as a result of that, and how, how are we going to move forward with this? And then on top of all of that, we had a national election last week. So that national election was probably one of the most polarized elections that any of us have ever experienced in our lifetimes. There was a lot of anger, a lot of fear mongering from all sides, a lot of fear about the outcomes. So in light of all of that, how are you doing? I'd love to read in the chat. How is it that you are feeling now? Just give a 1 or 2 word answer if you're willing to share. How is it that you are experiencing these times? And I am not seeing the chats, so Elena or Vilia, could you help me hear what some of the chat?
Sure. You may not be able to see it because you're showing your PowerPoint. Let's see, we have concerned, anxious, depressed, sad, but more hopeful than many of my peers, disillusioned, coping, very sad, cautious, avoidance, scared, adapting.
Okay, thank you for sharing, everyone. There's a range of emotions. I thought I might hear a couple of happy emotions in there too, because we did have people whose side got it elected. And but my point that I would like to make with this is that we're feeling a range of emotions here, and some of them are quite serious emotions, and they're certainly not good for our well-being. Certainly not good for our personal well-being or the social well-being. Now in the chat, and Vilia, please help me out again. Please put 1 or 2 words with how you would like to be feeling right now. Where would you like to be? How would you like to be feeling about our future, and particularly our political future?
Okay, first of all, I have to add one more comment because somebody said they were listening to a lot of Pete Seeger and Simon and Garfunkel. So
Music is wonderful. It is such a wonderful way to recover and to calm our emotions.
okay, and the answers we're getting on how people want to feel: hopeful, joyful, optimistic, energized.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think I might have a solution for you. So I would like to tell you a little bit about the organization I'm representing tonight, the Braver Angels. Braver Angels, as Vilia said in the introduction, we are an organization that is focused on empowering people to have conversations that are civil and respectful. We are empowering people to listen to each other and to learn, to be curious about the other side, all with the hope. The overall goal is to reduce polarization and build bridges so that we can move forward together. Braver Angels is a cross-partisan organization, a grassroots civic movement that has about we have over 14,000 members right now, and it grows daily. We have 111 alliances, local alliances, that are kind of the heart of the organization, that are working at the local level to engage community members in conversations and skill building. We've done over 4,500 events that in the almost 8 years we've been around, and about over 57,000 people have participated in those events. And when I mean events, I mean like workshops and e-courses and debates and just local conversations around challenging issues. Why do I think Braver Angels matters? Let's start on a personal level. Raise your hand if you are uncomfortable talking about politics or political issues with the other side. How many of you have strained? Thank you. How many of you have strained or broken relationships as a result of the political divide. Yep, we are not alone. This is a tremendous sadness of our current times, that our politics have divided our personal relationships. It's divided us from a little bit even from our humanity. I personally have experienced difficult and uncomfortable political conversations. My husband is on the other, I mean, we're not on the extremes of either spectrum, but he is on the other side. And so we do have conversations where they get heated, and we have to figure out how to get through those conversations in a way that we remember the other reasons why we're husband and wife. In my own family, I have people on both sides, blues and reds. And back in 2020, when we were experiencing so much civil and political upheaval, I had family members that got angry with each other via social media, and to this day they have a very difficult time being in the same room together. So these are people I love, and it's very hard to watch that. So I got involved with Braver Angels, and I'm happy to say that this organization has allowed me to manage and cope with the division. And more than that, it's allowed me to work towards improving to depolarizing and having hope for the future. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that happens. So we're first going to start with a mini experiential activity where I'll ask you to write down how your some answers to some 6 questions I'm going to ask you. I'll ask you the question, and then there will be some options for you to choose from. And then we're going to talk about polarization and how its impact, and how Braver Angels works to reduce polarization and to help people build bridges. We'll talk about the impact Braver Angels is having and ways in which you could get involved and make a difference. All right. Why are we not moving forward? Okay, so the first activity, do you have your pen and paper handy? This activity is really this, again, as I said earlier, this is pulled from one of our workshops. And one of the principles of Braver Angels is to first go within yourself to understand where it is that you're coming from, how it is that you're perceiving political conversations and the other side. So we talk about our inner polarizer. We all have a certain lens or perceptions that we have as a result of our life experiences. And this activity is just a way to help you become aware of that. So are you ready to take this little survey of 6 questions? Yeah, here we go. I will read the question and give you about 20 seconds or so to think about it. Please do choose the first answer that comes to your mind rather than think too long about it, because usually it's the first instinct that is the right one. So in these cases, so how often do I find myself thinking about those people on the other political side without much regard for the variation among them? Usually we're aware of great variation within our own group. Is it often, sometimes, or never? Okay. Oh, so yeah, here we go. How often do I find myself assigning mainly self-serving or negative motives to the other group and mainly positive motives to my group? Often, sometimes, or never? 3, how often do I find myself focusing on the most extreme or outrageous ideas and people on the other side, thereby making it hard to see how a reasonable person could remain in that group? Often, sometimes, or never. 4, how often do I find myself comparing the worst people on the other side with the best people on my side? Often, sometimes, or never. 5, how often do I feel a rush of pleasure with friends when we ridicule those crazies on the other political side? Often, sometimes, or never. And the final one, this is, there are about 4 or 5 options to choose from for the response. So which of the following is closest to my overall emotional attitude towards the majority of people who support the other side? Hate, they are enemies out to destroy the country. Disdain, they are ignorant and should know better. Pity, they are well-meaning but duped. Basic respect, they make contributions even if they are mostly off base. And then respect and appreciation, they make unique and necessary contributions. Which are you most likely to choose to be like? Okay. Let's take a few minutes to think about this experience, this activity, and maybe what you learned from it. Was it helpful to think about yourself in this way? Did you recognize something about yourself that maybe you didn't know before? Did you realize that actually both sides can answer the same question? That the other side might be feeling in the same ways that you're feeling? And maybe did you think about how your own perspective might be feeding sometimes the polarization that exists? So just take a few seconds. You might write a few thoughts down just to think through that. So when the first time I did this activity, I came into the whole workshop experience kind of, I know myself well. I'm very self-aware. I understand what biases are, and I know what my biases are mostly. And I felt very self-righteous. And then I took this quiz, and I was like, ooh, it was humbling for me. And I did learn a great deal about, it totally shifted my perspective about if I cared very much, if I truly am being honest with my values of caring about other people and caring about diverse perspectives, then I wasn't being very consistent when I first did this little survey. So this is the kind of activity that we will encourage people to start with, is just like understand yourself first and kind of get a better sense of how you're perceiving others. Okay, the crisis of polarization. We've talked a little bit about the ill effects of polarization. But again, polarization is when we are politically divided, and the crisis is that we're having difficulty coming together and agreeing on legislation or solutions that will actually move our country forward or move problem solving forward. In addition, we have disagreements on priorities across our political parties. In addition to disagreement, there's anger and there's rancor, and there is there's even demonizing of people who don't think like you. There are broken down conversations. There are broken down relationships. And there's an inability for any kind of bipartisan or multi-partisan agreements or moving legislation moving forward. This is completely affecting our democracy and the growth of our nation. And not even talking about how it's affecting each one of us personally. What is the cost of polarization? Well, we've mentioned it at the personal level. At the societal level, there is a great deal of research being done on polarization from research centers to universities that are creating research centers to the 2023 Pew Research came out with a study that reported that 65% of their respondents were feeling exhausted when thinking about politics. That has to be bad for our health, and it's certainly bad for our democracy. In 2021, an Ipsos study reported that 71% of their respondents avoided talking politics with people on the other side. Again, a broken down conversation is not getting us any further along in problem solution. It's only feeding the divide. 2024 study out of University of Massachusetts reported in Newsweek that 62% of their respondents fear election-related violence. So not only are we exhausted and avoiding political conversations, we actually are fearful and anxious about the future. This is the cost of polarization. But there is some good news. There is hope. Studies are increasingly beginning to show that we have more in common than we think. Public Agenda is a national research to action organization that studies challenges facing our democracy. They partnered with a research agency and found that 72% of their respondents believe we have more in common than what divides us. That's 72%. That's pretty significant. The Listen First Project is another organization that works to bridge, to improve communications among people and encourage people to deeply listen. Their study showed that 79% would play a role in trying to reduce social division in this nation. They would get involved to reduce social division. So clearly the majority of people want to get beyond the division. They want to get beyond the rancor. So there are lots of organizations working on understanding polarization, working on techniques and tools for depolarizing conversations, reducing the rancor, for building bridges. What makes Braver Angels special? Why Braver Angels? Well, as I said earlier, we're a grassroots organization, and we are in your neighborhood, almost. The goal is that we're going to be in all neighborhoods. We have 111 alliances. Some places have more alliances than others, but we're coming for you. We want to currently Florida has 2 alliances, and we are working very hard to get the message out there. So again, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. We want you to build alliances in your locations because that's where the real change will happen. Braver Angels also promotes a very balanced perspective in whenever we offer workshops, events. All of the leadership of the different arms in Braver Angels, the different groups in Braver Angels, all of the leadership is co-led actually by a red-leaning lead and a blue-leaning lead. So I'm a co-lead in the ambassador program, and I have a partner who is on the other side of the political spectrum. We have moderated debates. We make sure that voices are heard. When you have a pro and a con, we're very carefully controlled ways in which we offer these debates so that people all feel that they have been heard, all feel they've been given a chance to speak. We have a member's journey that guides an interested individual, somebody who's interested in Braver Angels, to become a skill builder for improving, helping to depolarize, and then moving to be civically involved in problem solving or in helping others learn to be depolarizers. And even we are training and building infrastructure so that people eventually become civic leaders in their local alliances and help local organizations work through challenges that we're dealing with. In Braver Angels, we want to encourage political conversation, but our goal is not to change minds. Our goal is to encourage people to listen deeply, to learn from the other, to listen with curiosity, to seek where is the common ground between me and the other person, and then to move forward with mutual resolve. How do we do this? Well, we have a range of experiences that we offer that people can either learn about issues through or build skills through. So one of the ways in which people can engage with Braver Angels is through our e-courses. Our e-courses are about 40-minute experiences online. And they are, again, mostly skill building courses. Examples of those courses are skills for bridging the red-blue divide. That's one of our e-courses. Managing difficult conversations. We have a family and politics e-course that might be helpful for the upcoming holidays. We have the Depolarizing Within workshop or e-course that, again, takes that little mini experience that we just did at the beginning here and further develops it, again, around understanding ourselves. We have skills for social media, how to deal with the vitriol and the challenges, the toxicity on social media. We have workshops. Our workshops are 3 to 6 hour experiences where the titles are the same as the e-courses that I just mentioned, but in addition to that, we have a workshop that's specifically on training people how to find common ground with the other side. We have a workshop on being blue in a red environment or being red in a blue environment. We have a workshop on public policy and race. So these are deeper experiences where we really do not only tell people about the skills that they could use, but we have them practice them. And then, of course, the debates, as I said earlier, those are really wonderful opportunities to learn about the other side's perspective on why things, why they might take a pro position or a con position. We have national debates online. Sometimes your alliances will have debates locally that are in person, but I have participated in a number of online debates, and I tell you, I walk away every time feeling good about the world because people on both sides of the issue have a chance to speak, and they speak civilly and respectfully to each other. And everyone walks away saying, wow, I didn't realize that we could actually have such a productive conversation around this issue. You could join a caucus. Our caucuses is the special interest groups that are dedicated to people with, well, with obviously with special interests. So some examples: we have a veterans caucus group. We have a caucus group for people with LGBTQ interests. We have a faith caucus. We have a book club. We have a film club. So there are multiple ways in which you can engage. You can participate in within this culture of braver angels, where we respect others' perspectives and we develop the skills to work through issues that maybe we don't agree on, but we know that we can agree on something. In addition to our workshops and e-courses that are oriented towards individuals, we have other initiatives that work with organizations. So we have the Braver Education component of the Braver Angels, and that's a group that works with schools and colleges, universities, to help our youth develop skills for civil discourse around politics. We have the Braver Politics initiative, which is creating workshops and experiences for our politicians to be able to work with their constituents and colleagues across the aisle. The Braver Network is one I want to point out. That's that initiative is actually bringing together organizations of kind of like yours, who are similarly interested in encouraging civic engagement and encouraging the people to come to act, to protect our democracy and to work through our social, our local challenges, our national challenges. We have about 350 organizations that are currently aligned with us within the Braver Network framework. And the idea is that we help each other work towards our unique missions. So quickly, I want to just give you a sense of how this all started. Kind of what is the inspiration behind the Braver Angels organization. And that was back in 2016. A couple of friends got together. They realized there was tremendous political rancor and anger and sadness and gloating victors and there was just too much social upheaval, and they wanted to see if there was anything they could do about it. So they brought together 8 red-leaning individuals and 8 blue-leaning individuals in South Lebanon, Ohio, and brought in a family and marriage counselor, Bill Doherty, and who is now one of the co-founders for Braver Angels. They brought this group together for an entire weekend, and the group worked through their perspective differences on challenges that the organizers chose, that were controversial challenges where there was a divide between the Reds and the Blues. They brought these people together to work through using the different methods, and it was such a successful experience. In fact, I know some of these people are friends even today, Reds and Blues that came together and became friends, and you wouldn't even imagine, but they're even still friends today. So it started that way. They wanted to build on that success. And so I'm going to show you, so the last 8 years, they've been building this civic movement. They went out the first couple of years, they just went out to lots of different locations and tried this method with groups where you pair equal numbers of Reds and Blues together and you get them to sit down and talk using methods that were adopted from family and marriage therapy, but have been customized for political conversations. And here we are today. I wanted to give you just a snippet of what it looks like today now, and when you get a bunch of Braver Angels together. We have an annual convention where you go to get re-energized, you go to get refocused on the mission. This is a a short video. I'll just show you a minute or so of it, a short video from this past July's convention.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you this. There is reason to be hopeful in our country today. There is reason to hope, not because we agree on all of the issues, but because on the issues that we disagree upon, we still disagree as good people.
Are polarized that at any time there's civil war. People aren't listening to each other, and if you and I disagree, then I'm just an evil. Republicans, Democrats, you think it's democracy? Everyone believes it can get done.
Braver Angels is the nation's largest grassroots organization. It is bringing people together from all across the political spectrum.
Promising seeds being planted in the nation's heartland when it comes to healing.
We have reason to believe in our prospects for a brighter America tomorrow, but it only works if we hear each other.
When we first started Braver Angels, it was just 3 or 4 of us. We were going around the country, sleeping on people's couches, trying out the workshop.
Methods, training, giving them what they need to engage their communities, engage political leaders,
It only works if we listen to one another.
to be part of the solution and turn the tide on the toxicity that is tearing at the fabric of the nation.
So we did 40 of those over the course of the summer. We didn't have any idea that that would turn into thousands of these workshops.
And what I found consistently, people do bring their best selves, and they do learn, and they do change.
Half conservative, half liberal meeting together, just trying to talk to one another rather than at each other or about each other.
That in multiple rooms where I would have not expected the conversation to move so gracefully.
In today's political climate, to be in a group like this, talking about really controversial issues like abortion and immigration, it's just amazing.
We just had no idea that it would grow like this.
There's just so much potential for bravery.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to give you a sense of the range of experiences people have in this, you know, when we get a bunch of Braver Angels together, there is hope, there is excitement, and people want to move forward. They want to make change. How do we know we're making a difference? Well, we do survey all of our participants after the workshops and e-courses and debates. And we've been tracking that data for, I don't know, 7 years, probably 6 years. Participants are reporting that they, you know, immediately post-event, they are feeling more comfortable with the other party. They report changing perceptions of each other, not their political viewpoints, but of each other. They report learning useful information, and they report that the events are well run. In short, we reduce polarization. 70 to 80% of our participants in workshops report better understanding. So 70 to 80% report better understanding and a change in perceptions. We hope that that may lead to a change in attitudes and action. I personally have had a very positive experience in Braver Angels. I certainly experienced this election in a much more controlled and balanced and hopeful manner than I did in previous elections. So I know that for me personally, this has been a very important experience and has changed my perceptions and my actions in ways that are constructive. I know that a lot of you might be thinking about, well, okay, yeah, nice idea, but right now I'm in pain, or right now I'm elated and I just want to experience my emotions. And so we do, as part of our organization, we do talk about how do you manage through these periods of heightened polarization, heightened emotions as a result of political actions or events? And so these are some of the ideas that have been coming up from our conversations within Braver Angels. First of all, resist retreating to our in-groups, right? We may be very emotional right now, but we should still resist retreating to our in-groups, because that, or maybe spend equal time within our in-groups and our out-groups. We don't want to close off the other. Reflect on our emotions and the specific triggers. What am I afraid of? Or what am I overjoyed about? And why? Why do I feel that way for this particular issue? Put yourself in the other's shoes. Victors, please resist the urge to gloat, because that doesn't make the others feel good. And those who are not the victors, please avoid bitterness, because that comes out in your communications with others. Acknowledge that there are things to learn. What did I or the other side miss or not understand? And then when you are ready to talk about it, to talk about politics, or to talk with the people on the other side, remember, make sure the other person is also in a place where they're willing to talk. But the first thing you say and you do is going to set the tone for the conversation. So be very intentional about the tone that you set and you keep during your conversations. And maybe thinking about long-term when you're ready to kind of, you've processed the emotions and you're now ready to not give up hope. Commit to not perpetuate polarization. Conflict avoidance, remember that conflict avoidance feeds polarization, because if we're not talking to each other, we're not understanding each other, and we're not going to trust each other if we don't understand each other. So think about ways in which you can overcome the uncomfortableness of talking with people on the other side. Build your skills for braver conversations, and even the very best way probably is eventually, when you're ready, join with people on the other side to tackle a local challenge using the Braver Angels way. Get involved. Make action happen, and make it happen with voices from many perspectives, including the red if you're blue and blue if you're red. So I invite you to join our efforts. You can find more information at braverangels.org. One of the alliances in Florida is in Tampa, Florida, and that is their email. Please feel free to reach out to them and find out what kind of events they might have coming up, and maybe you'll make your way up that way. You can text us to join, or if you don't really feel like you're ready to join, then just maybe you want to give a small donation. We're happy to see that kind of support as well. Finally, I just wanted to say our 2024 convention, we launched the American Hope Campaign. This is a specific initiative to try to help people have hope again. We have a petition online that you can sign, and that petition is going to, the petition is going to politicians who, where we're asking them to please reach across the aisle. Please help us come together and create solutions and legislation that considers all as many perspectives, and especially the conservative and liberal both perspectives going forward. You can attend a Common Ground workshop. We have some workshops coming up. We have some immigration debates coming up online, some really cool stuff. This group, I continue to be amazed by what comes out of our workshop and debates group. So that is what I have to share with you today. We do believe that Braver Angels, the work we do is more important now than ever. And we hope that you will join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Before you take down your PowerPoint, if you'll just go back a couple of slides, because I think somebody was trying to take notes about how to get in touch.
This one?
Nope, nope, there you go. So if we can just leave that up for a moment.
Sure.
I actually, so if you do have questions, please put those questions in the chat. I have a question. So the workshops are live, or are those online?
Some are online and some are local. So we do a hybrid approach. We have a national organization, and like I said, the alliances, though, the local organizations where you can work with your neighbors and your friends, those are the ones that we really want to make. We really want to get, make sure that they are as wide and available as possible.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe if you contact the Tampa group, they might have a workshop coming up soon. I wasn't able to do that.
Okay. And I do see that the e-courses are online and free and like maybe, I think it said 40 minutes long.
Yep.
And so those are exercises that we can do on our own. But I will ask you, so for Thanksgiving, I will have a divided dinner table. So can you just give me a couple of tools that I can use at Thanksgiving?
Well, it really is going to depend on you and where you are feeling. Some people are still processing emotions where it's difficult for them to talk. And if that's the case, it's probably not the best time. Maybe it's not the best time to talk. You want to be able to talk about political issues. Well, let me take a step back. And you don't have to be talking about political issues, right? You may be in a place emotionally where politically you're not happy about the outcome, or politically you're overjoyed about the outcome, but maybe the Thanksgiving table isn't the right place because you are aware that other people might have some strong emotions that they're dealing with. So you do have to kind of think about who is at the table and maybe where might they be. Now, that said, if you are ready to kind of say, well, always think about, what if I were in the other person's shoes? How would I want that person to treat me? If I'm the victor, does it really help to gloat or to say how wonderful and happy I am? Is that helpful? Or is it more helpful to say, to the person whose candidate lost, say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And just listen and acknowledge and say, yeah, I can understand. And we knew there was one of two outcomes that was going to happen. And, I could easily have been in your place, right? So just always remember that it could be you that you're talking to, right? And how would you want the other person to listen deeply to you? And to acknowledge where you're coming from, and then maybe find something you have in common about what they're saying, right? About what they're sharing. That opens lots of doors. That's a start.
I think listening, yes, listening and finding we have so much more in common than what divides us. But unfortunately, media or whoever, everybody's in the business of trying to create turmoil and focus on the divisions rather than what we have in common. Well, we certainly want to, I'm sure we'll all want to look at the e-courses to see what we can do on our own, and also visit the website to see what Tampa is offering. I would like to point out, I see that Bill Woodson is on the call, and he started a local event very similar to Braver Angels called the Conversations, Kata, Conversations Across the Aisle. And I know that they've been active for about a year. Bill, do you have a comment that you'd like to make? Let's see.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Vilia, for giving me that opportunity. The objectives of Conversations Across the Aisle are very aligned to the objectives of Braver Angels. And in fact, I've participated in several Braver Angel events. I've spoken with John Woods Jr., and we are continuing to think about things we might be able to do together. But if people are interested in connecting across those political divides and interested in doing something in person, we have had a series of in-person meetings. I'm going to drop a little bit of information in the chat here that I included the how to reach us by email, et cetera, et cetera. It gives a little bit more of an overview of how we are structured. Our meetings are typically between 40 and 60 people, and they're over dinner. And the dinner format is intentional because we feel that people might be more amenable to thinking about how to disagree in a way that's not disagreeable when they're breaking bread together. But one of the things we do strive for, similar to Braver Angels, is balance. And so I ask if you are of the blue persuasion, and you're interested in attending our next event, which will be December 9th, that you nominate yourself and a person of the opposite persuasion, because we want to try to keep that balance. And we do find it's more of a challenge to get people more on the conservative side to recruit into this space. But there's information there. If you're not want more information, you can certainly reach out to me at the events.kata@gmail.com email address, and I can answer your questions. If you're like, I want to do this, I want to be there for December 9th, we can work on that as well. If you like the idea, but December 9th is not a good date, but you'd like to stay in connection with us for future events in 2025, you can also write us there and we can add you to our database. Thanks, Velia.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, we have a question in the chat. One of the things that I think divides us is where we get our news and what we accept as truth. How often do participants in your events walk away unsatisfied?
That's a really important acknowledgement that where we get our news is one area that divides us. Maybe yes, the news has a way, the news source has a way of dividing us. We're also choosing that news source. And so we are also making an intentional decision to maybe listen to that narrative. Maybe we want to try to listen to narrative on the other side. I know that can sometimes be nauseating. I know. So maybe we want to not support those news sources that are so biased. Maybe we need to find news sources that are more centrist and moving more towards just reporting events or facts, and not necessarily giving all the commentary that isn't. I mean, it's commentary. It's coming from a certain perspective. Right.
Or at least try to have some balance.
What's that?
At least try to have a balance to don't just depend on one news source.
Right.
Try to have some balance in that.
I just know sometimes it's hard for some people to see. If you're used to a certain news source and then you try to see the other side news sources, sometimes that's uncomfortable for people. So maybe try to find something that is a little in between. And there are, just Google news media bias. And there are organizations that rate bias on with newspapers and TV channels. So the name of the one that I use all the time is escaping me. I apologize for that. The one question was, do people ever walk away unsatisfied? I'm sure of that. I have no doubt that people sometimes walk away. 70 to 80% of our participants say they walk away having gained something. Either, they view the other side differently, probably because they've had a conversation with that somebody in that other side. They view themselves differently, or they were just impressed at how well the event was run. They learned something new. But everyone comes into these workshops and events with a different mindset, and we learn best when we come in with curiosity. we come in with the mindset of wanting to learn something, wanting to take away. So I don't know, people are in all different places. Usually when they come to one of our events, it's because they really are curious and they do want to learn something new. And so that's why I do believe the majority come away having learned something.
A follow-up question on that. What is your success rate? Are you able to measure a success rate on your events?
Well, we measure success by the numbers attended, the growth that we see in the organization. We measure success on what the survey respondents say, the participants say. We measure success by what our partners say. I normally we would have a little post event feedback for me for this particular event, but I'm online and I wasn't able to get that put together. Where we're going, our goal is a civic renewal movement. We want to empower people. We want people to build the skills to work in their locations, in their communities, identify challenges that their communities are having, and work together from multiple perspectives to come up with a resolution for that challenge. Not just leave it to your local state or city government to solve it, but actually come get the people to work together to inform, say, look, this is how these different perspectives feel about the challenge. And so we've piloted a couple of those examples. There was an example, I believe it was in Minnesota, of a community that was divided about where to place stop signs. And the group, different members from different political leanings, different perspectives, different types of neighborhoods came together. They used the methods that we are espousing here, we're promoting, and they came up with a solution that the people wanted for where to put the stop signs. So we're hoping to encourage more of those kinds of initiatives. We want people to work together because sometimes, just talk can take us nowhere. But how can we come together and solve problems together? We appreciate each other so much more when we are successful in projects together.
Yes, making the connection, I think. But actually, the way that I learned about Braver Angels was through a book called I Never Thought of It That Way. And it talked about the power of when people express an opinion that you don't agree with, just say, why do you feel that way? To hear, how did they come to that conclusion? And the other thing, we talk about news and getting people to read news. I have people that I send articles to all the time. They're saying this stuff and I'm like, don't they read the news? But I realize, I read a book called How Minds Change that was so enlightening. It has nothing to do with reason. It has nothing to do with the reality. It's where they're coming from, and they're the only ones who can change their minds. You have to walk them through a process to help them see another point of view. So let's see, we had a question about communicating to people about balancing their news source, and Bill suggested that you start by you reading their sources and see what their takeaway is before you can start trying to change that habit. And then you also have a different take on the same news story. So
absolutely.
okay, we are at the top of the hour, so thank you all very much for coming. And Barbara, we appreciate you joining us tonight. We'll say good evening from the League of Women Voters of Sarasota County. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.